Good morning. It is the 11th day of September 2019. My name is Derek. This is the Money Charts channel. All bets, trades of the like within each zone, risk and reward. We'll go things relatively quickly. Silver and the cryptos, mainly that of Bitcoin. Okay, so within the silver market, several correctionary tests within the 18 as we had it here in July as it was lifting off. Another successful one in August, a very successful one at the end of August as the price action left it at a little over 17 and it neared close to 20, about a 15 or so percent venture to the upside. And then a couple days bringing it back down to the 18 average of lows. A little bit of pausing within it yesterday, and you can so far make the same case in the very early hours for today's session. Amongst the single hour term time frame is where I see it gets relatively interesting as we have this, from the top, the price action falls, and it had a relatively decent fall along the way as it left the 18 with this resistance being this prior support, establishing this support level it never came back to, even with this big move in here. So it found this support here, it resisted the 18, resisted it again, and from this low, it endured this failed breakout. And that was early to tell as the price action was unable to find support anywhere near the highest level of a higher low, 18 average of lows, these previous levels, all that kind of stuff. Came back, had a matching low, microscopically piercing below it, and a little bit more of further decline along the way. An attempt in here to get out, but what happened was it successfully corrected with another attempt to get out, barely getting above and in that correctionary phase. Okay, well, it's attempting to get above it, and if it does, then I'll be looking first at the moves like a 61.8%. If it's able to hold, stabilize, or even just continue on from there, that is absolutely large news, as we would expect decent sized gains to endure. But before we see what they would be, if it doesn't do that, and above the 18 average of highs would be 18 and two thirds on this, and then okay, getting 18 two thirds up to 19, give it a lot of reason this week if they can get above it for the break of this possible level. If not, it's filling some of this empty space. Some of these other time frames, 3 days has the 18 average of lows near 17. On the weekly chart, still well extended. If there's going to be any serious pullbacks, I'm looking for the must hold near a little under 16. And on the monthly term time frame so far for the month, a little bit of a continuation gain and holding in there, really relatively near where the close happens to be. Ideally, if you're just looking for good setups and stuff, spending the next 3, 4, 5 months hanging in there, resisting up no up to this previous high, coming and supporting the 18 average of lows at times, and just doing that type of stuff would strengthen the setup. But this thing really won't get too exciting until it can get above this 21 handle. On the gold monthly time, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, just moving this into the ratio next. But resisting amongst its 61.8% Fibonacci so far, but it hasn't really had really anything as far as price going down. As we can see, 1321 is previous key Fibonacci, which really resisted closer to 1360, and the rising 18 average of lows and highs, which is above and below those key levels. On the gold to silver ratio, I remember putting this line in for Fibonacci purposes, and on the originality, it didn't find any support on the short term. It did find support. It had a major pierce below and a very noticeable move up to yet its second correctionary phase on the downtrend, and the sudden move down, correctionary play, another sudden move down, and so far correcting it. A ratio breaking down below 81.5 would be a clear break below the 18 average of lows. And when viewing this on the long term, it's barely holding on to the 18 average of lows right now, or having a establishing level of support below it, which is very common in charts to do, as we can see, sort of like it did here when it established it at 64 and three quarters. And yeah, just another way of putting. Okay, so it's went down a lot, and the down a lot is from here to here, which represents an area that was one, two, and three times hit as resistance. Now on to cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin, yeah, not much going on today. It's another day. It's another 1,000 Satoshi. And we got it at 10,000 even, which is relatively in the bottom area of this range. It did manage the last few days to come up to the 10.6, 10.7 area, but obviously no longer in that point. And it's had a lot of support tests. And if it breaks it, as I've stated before, you got halfway to the way there, which is a 63 and a half, is around 8,000 something. I wouldn't be surprised if it does go to. I'm not saying it's going to go to 63, but if it does, relatively fast move there, with maybe little to no support at this area, or finding decent support here in one way or another, then breaking it, then going to 63. That would usually be how it is. It's still got to get by some of this downtrend and all these lower highs. So now that it's had this last 3 or 4 days as it has, key level most certainly at 10,800 high, and getting above 11,000 would be well, now optimism just to get back to the previous high range again. Regarding Bitcoin dominance and at 71.83 on the trading view calculation, well, still, like I was saying in here, it hasn't not breaking down. It's holding so far within the 18 lows. It's so far now working on a couple days of establishing support at this level of resistance. Not quite here at 71 and a third, but even then going down here, not necessarily stating that this is breaking down or flipping over, rather that it's still trying to. Because anytime, like if you go down here, you're going to establish some support. I would still need to see a clear break of that for me to consider that this thing is starting to roll over. And of course, a monstrous uptrend. At some point, it could very easily be one to the other side, as markets usually go up and then they go down, and so on and so forth. Now I'm going to try to find the top gainer I haven't even seen before. I haven't looked at the top ones. I'm just going to use Binance. Anything big? Not really. Doc at 70. I guess Doc will count 70 Satoshi. Go's doing good for me. That's something I've sold a little bit. So Doc we'll look at next. Haven't seen it. And this is what it looks like. A second attempt in doing what it did here. Before, on August the 26th, it managed to get up to over 100. Pull back down to 50. And now, right in here, back to over 100 again. Pulling back to 78. Some previous good trading opportunities, despite the fact that this has been getting its ass destroyed. Little small rally in here. A couple days in here. Little bits of the stuff in here. Few days in here. A little bit of nice volatility here. Definitely amazing moves, but we see how large of a decline this is. From Halloween last year, around that time frame, 651 as a high down to under 50. That's a decline of over a dozen times. But markets go up, markets go down, and if this is a good coin, not a major shit coin or whatever, then first you're going to find this level of resistance, then you're going to probably, well, if it's not, you're most likely and certainly got time probably going to come back to the upper end of this range. Don't know anything within it or if any reason why or not this should happen. And if it is that of a shit coin or just one that's on its route to completely collapsing, you can't discount the fact that it could have a lower high rally up to any of these levels, of course, before an event like such occurs. I'm not playing this. Again, I was just looking to see what one of the top gamers is. Let's just finish it off with Go, as that's something I do trade. And it too is getting its ass kicked from all these highs in March, over 800, now barely over 100 at 114. And a similar thing here, not as aggressive by any means, but attempt to break out, failure, back down, and matching previous low. And now it looks like it's on the daily chart attempting to do it again. And we look at this on, say, a much shorter term on the single hour. This thing has been moving extremely wild since 1400 hours yesterday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, as this thing is having extreme volatility along the way. All these lows and highs in it. So if you're playing the order book right in this, there's a lot of profit to flip things back and forth very nicely. But I actually do want to finish this off with in Dash. Another one, like all the other ones, ass kicking for sure. Not as big a volatility with coins like Dash compared to ones like Doc. It has a harder time, or it takes a lot longer to lose 12 times your value. As this is about 6 times here from the May highs of 2018. And even a little worse than that when we go to 2017. Okay, so as far as what we see now, 3 days from this bottom up to the 18 average of highs. And now the last 3 days in here just hanging in there within it. But when you take a look at this on the short term, this is where it gets really interesting amongst a single hour. As we had this high at 3 o'clock in the morning, September 9th, that comes down to this low. And 4 periods up and, well, This I find very interesting. I guess this would be a prototypical bull flag with support at 837 and resistance at 840 and a half. But getting it above this, it's made a statement that it wants to first come up and reach previous high, and then after that, on a bullish leather, either congest there, maybe come back to here, or even find little to no resistance and then just have a very good leg from this high. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. And of course, if it fails through the 18 lows, I mean, it's a failed move. Expect to break below this low for a good size move somewhere down here. Take care. Bye bye.